just being in that environment, like, not just for yourself even, you're watching your friends do stuff and you're fucking praying that they've like checked every single box and they've been as careful as possible, and no one is rising to the challenge just because it will be great to get the clip.
Yo guys, I got something really special for you today. I got to interview the creators of the 4 most influential parkour films to date. I'm talking Supertramps Thailand, Roof Culture Asia, Soul Destroyer, and then the recently released Into the Breach. They gave me some great insights into how they made these huge projects, and I've selected the best moments to show you today. There are also some exclusive sneak peeks into the films for anyone who hasn't seen them. We're going to go through the ingredients that make up a great parkour film. We're going to talk about logistics of taking a project like this from idea to reality, the daily shooting schedule, some of the issues they encountered, and then slaying the final edit. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the Storror boys talking about how they made the most impressive parkour film of all time.
Drew just, I can't remember where, it might have even just been on the WhatsApp group chat, just sort of came up with this big plan out of nowhere. It was just like light bulb moment, like here's the plan. And all of us were just like, well, obviously that's fucking amazing. Like, let's obviously do that. Like, I don't know how or what it will end up being, but like, let's at least start the process.
There wasn't a decision process in like, oh, should we do roof culture in like South America or Africa or like, do you know what I mean? It was just Asia was the obvious choice.
We took out a loan, didn't we?
Did we? Yeah, was that it? Yeah.
We were like, oh, we can't actually like, we can't get this project done, it's going to cost too much. The day that we needed to make the decision to go or not was when Drew got an email from PayPal saying like, you're eligible for a 15 grand for like loan.
0% interest loan, like, and we just happened to get that email at the same time as we were thinking about maybe doing it.
And that's how much all the flights were going to cost and like to fund all like where we'd stay and stuff.
We wanted to like make roof culture right, and at the time I think Giles was like #1 in terms of like clean parkour documentary style filmmaking. So I think getting him out was a really good move. It allowed us to like treat it more seriously.
It all kind of made sense, and before long Roof Culture Asia was the target, and the guys were just heading towards it.
When it comes to like planning it with that kind of thing, like it was pretty loose. It was like, we've got these dates, we're going to be in London. Okay, we've got these dates, we're going to be in Porto or Lisbon or whatever. We obviously sort of had spots and things we wanted to hit up. Mark's had put quite a lot of time in putting together a list of like places to go, but it wasn't like we structured it to some crazy degree. It's pretty loose. Like we just go out and we shoot until we feel like we've got enough, and then we start editing. Really, the action dictates where the storyline, if there is one, goes, or certain occurrences and things like this. So
hi, today we're doing a jump. That sounded so advertisement. Whoa. I just bet him a tether. Stick it first time. Is he gonna get it?
Oh my God!
Obviously you get a sense of it in the film, but like your day from waking up till sleeping, what would it be like?
It was like the most intense like routine probably ever had.
It was fucking nuts. Yeah.
I mean, as soon as we wake up, it was like, okay, we're going out scouting. The trip was like split into like 2 little sections. One part of it would be scouting, the next part would just be performing the moves that we've just scouted the previous day. So it's like, we didn't really do much more than that. It was just wake up, do those things, and then go home, go to sleep.
Yeah.
We need to get in. No, there's no alarm, please.
Worth looking at?
Let's go. In contrast to like Supertramps as well, like Supertramps, we were literally waking up in the mornings after sleeping on beaches and in woods and stuff, and going into McDonald's and charging all the cameras for like 2 hours, and then like we'd carry on our day just like fueled on fucking chips and fucking Cremos and shit. Like, and like this time we'd actually paid for accommodation. We had like a base.
Shit accommodation, but
awful accommodation, but it was a bed that we could sleep in.
Oh,
We truly believed that they'd messed up our booking.
How many people we have in one room?
It's just like, oh shit, this is the start. Like, this is day one.
home, boys. I fucking hate this place.
And either way, like, you're steeped in stress. You have the stress of like the humiliation of getting caught and the risk of getting caught by police in Hong Kong, which was a huge thing for us. Like, the Hong Kong police were after us.
The policeman got out his phone and is scrolling down a news article with just maps.
What? So what now? Like the next week is going to be so hard to film anything.
The police literally were following us on social media. Like, they were so aware of our presence.
They know who we are, what we're doing, all of our names.
Uploading this kind of stuff to social media while we're still in Hong Kong was a really bad idea.
But then on top of that, no matter where you are or whether you're performing or not, you're doing disgusting things just to get around. Just being in that environment, like, not just for yourself even, but like, you're watching your friends do stuff and you're fucking praying that they've checked every single box and they've been as careful as possible, and no one is rising to the challenge just because it will be great to get the clip.
Everything in my body is screaming no, but I know that he is a confident guy and his skill set is at a level where he can accomplish that sort of movement at that height.
The jump measures out at 16, but when I look at it like this, it looks fucking massive, and I think it's just because of that drop down there.
Sometimes the group dynamic will turn into like 2 or 3 people filming like Max breaking a massive challenge, and the others kind of just chilling and like supporting, because they know that, I mean, they might do a little bit of training, but they want to like preserve themselves for the next day.
What's going on here, Max?
Trying to keep warm.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
I love it where everyone is training and I'm just rolling around with a camera capturing like fun. Like, that's probably my preferred shooting vibe, but I think to get those like top things, unless you're Ed Scott where you just bang those out in your sleep.
Just like that, like a machine.
Yeah, sometimes it almost requires that attitude that is a little bit more like, okay, we're shooting rather than we're training.
Yeah, that's how these tour videos I found tend to work. Like, I do an annual tour with these guys and it's like, as long as there's always something happening, there's always someone moving. The rest might be all chilling because they've had 5 hours sleep, camping or whatever. But as long as there's always something rolling, you end up with mad bear content. Like,
yeah, that's it, man. That was something that I communicated very, very early on to the guys. It's like, look, we're going for 10 days straight. I don't expect you, well, Ed, I expect Ed to, but I don't expect you guys to go for 10 days straight. So just use your energy wisely. If you're not feeling it, just sit out. It's 13 or 14 other guys that can move. Once I communicated that on day one, I think a lot of the guys just sort of like eased up. And yeah, I feel like that's how we were able to get such good content from that short space of time.
Right, we cut there, yeah? Right, let's go spoons.
We did Soul Destroyer pretty minimally. Like, we initially did like 10 days in London, of which we rented like a house, because just getting everyone in one place in sort of central London, we're only an hour away from London, like out in the countryside, but that time delay does make a difference. So it's nice to get everyone together as well, because you get like that vibe. So we rented an Airbnb for that. And then we did a few weeks in Europe, of which like the flights out to like Lisbon and things are really quite cheap. And then we stayed in gyms and Airbnbs. So funding kind of wasn't a crazy expense. And then when it came to like, the only other kind of big expense, I guess, was music. Like, we got quite a few tracks from the parkour community, but there are a few select tracks that I reached out to some like small music labels and things like this to try and just up that quality a little bit. We fall into this trap when we're filming long form projects where the athletes basically bite off the biggest thing they can chew, and sometimes it takes hours to get one challenge done. I mean, we have the cake system, right, which was devised filming Soul Destroyer, which is on Max's birthday. We said, okay, we're going to go out and we want, was it 4 clips? Is it cake 4 clips, Max? Or is it cake 5 clips? I can't remember. Fuck.
It was layer, then something in the middle, then a layer, and then icing, and then candles. Isn't that 5?
That's perfect. I don't know. Anyway, so we have the cake system, which we're still working it out. But if we came home with a cake, we were happy.
Let's go! Ah! Fuck me, that was so hard! Oh!
Tomato just dropped down.
Fuck!
And obviously that's like the fun part, potentially the quicker, the easier part. And then can you briefly run me through sort of the editing process, the monster sort of task that it is?
I mean, for Soul Destroyer, it was basically like you would go through and have all my raw footage, and I would segment out that to like action and attempts, B-roll, funny bits, etc. And then, I mean, to be honest, with that kind of edit, although it still does take time, like it took me a couple of months, really you find a song that fits the vibe. And I wasn't going for a chronological thing. So I just found a song that fit the vibe and basically found shots that I felt worked with that vibe. And I was quite aware that I didn't want to like front load the edit. So I wanted to have like a decent ending, decent start, etc. to try and keep a balance. So I almost kind of said, okay, well, like, this section is feeling quite heavy in terms of like heavy hitters, so maybe like pull a couple from there and put that, layer it out so the whole thing feels quite balanced.
Boy, I got some bullshit to sell. I got some bullshit to sell. Pack it up, ship it out in the rain. Reminisce how this guy once felt. That boy been crying about
when I had this idea and I had this vision and this dream to do this, as soon as I started reaching out to these key people like your Ed Scott, your George McGowan, some of the Motus guys, like straight away they were just like, we're down, let's go for it. There's literally no debate. They wanted to know a little bit about what it was that I wanted to do, and once I explained the concept, then it was just a case of bringing the right people on board. And I spoke to Hector Pitt from formerly of Brewman, and like he was one of the first people who was just like, yo, this sounds sick. And obviously he's been doing work within the music industry and doing music videos and stuff like that for like drill artists and grime artists and things like this. So he's got to pay the bills. But one of the things he said to me very early on is he's still passionate about parkour, and to be able to give back in that way, I think it was something that was like he was on board immediately. And then the next person that I got in touch with was Chris Thompson.
Just to clarify, Chris was another one of the guys shooting the...
Yeah, so he's probably the main camera guy. He's probably also the main editor. So just to break that down, it was like we had Daniel Hempenstall with us, who was the third camera, and he was picking up like a lot of the other shots, like the second angles and things like that, and also operating the drone, which he didn't get up that often. I don't think he brought his charger with him. So he didn't get to get that up that often. So Daniel's been a real help as well, going through all the selects, which obviously you'll know is an absolute mission to do. So he went through all the selects, put them into a file so the guys could just go and pick what they needed from it. Hector was responsible for all of the main action edits. So there's the bits where it opens up and you've got the title of the city wherever we are, and it goes into a song or two. And Chris was just responsible for just wrangling the beast and pulling it all together and trying to create that story out of all the stuff that we had. So yeah, Chris is a wizard, man, for being able to do what he did. He had the idea of the finished product in his head from the beginning. He wanted to make sure if this was something that he put his name behind, he wanted to make sure that we were bringing something of value. And that's why we had all those extra little bits. We'd ask the question. Obviously, I don't think you hear the question being asked to the guys, but we asked everybody in the interview, like, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you whilst you've been doing parkour? Some of the responses were hilarious, and we listened to them. And we were just like, yeah, this would be really funny if we could like bring this to life. And Hector said he had a friend called Ben Tillian. I reached out to him, told him what we wanted to do, and straight away he was just like, Mum, but this guy put in hours and hours and hours of work. Man, like if you see, those animations aren't easy to do. Do you know what I mean? They're all like hand drawn. And
her husband comes out and is like getting super aggressive. And we look down, this man's got like knuckle dusters on, like on each hand, and we're like, what are you doing? So we like obviously just try and back away as quick as I can, but like that is a pretty extreme like response to someone just jumping on some walls next to the house.
We've got the two famous editors from Storror here. So like, what was that process like, the monster task of editing it?
It's a good time for me to go to the toilet.
It was long. It was big. It was an 8-month like start to end, but I think it was 4 months straight in front of the screen. That was it. I think you did a month and a half or 2 months of that, and then I took the back end, the last half. But yeah, that last evening was funny. It was like, yeah, we finished that 6 weeks, and me and Sash just looking at each other like, okay.
Now starts the edit. It's not finished.
Now we're on to the edit.
That's a wrap on Roof Culture Asia.
We've done it.
We've done it. We've actually done it.
Wait, that was an idea once.
Because like on a physical level and a mental level, it's tough like being out there like scouting all day, going through like psych battles every day, trying to get your moves, trying to get your lines, keep up, hold the motivation, all of that. But then you've got the serotonin like fucking kick from doing parkour, from being active, from being with your mates every day, all day. And then the moment you're sitting in front of the screen for weeks and weeks on end, like you lose all of those little sprinkles, bonuses on top, and you have just got to sit there, stick with it, because at some point it'll be done. That's another thing, like people that watch Roof Culture and they're like, oh, fucking like, even the emotional arc was perfect, like all of this, like we were given that entirely by what happened to go down. Like obviously me and Sash spent months like trying to actually design that and help that arc and push it, but like what happened in Hong Kong, Tokyo and Seoul is literally how like a screenwriter would map out like a fictional film, let alone like a factual documentary like that. Like it was total fluke that we happened to line those up, and it was literally, I think, because of flight prices. I think that was the cheapest route you could do, and that was the only reason we did it in that order.
But we did have the idea that we wanted to break it up into the phases with each city. Phase 1, Hong Kong, was the what. So you're getting shown like in your face, this is what we're doing.
This is parkour at height.
This is parkour at height. Phase 2 was Hong Kong, was the how, and that showed all the ground training and everything. Like we had those like
I forgot about that,
like premeditated kind of things, but that's the thing, cool. It still gave it to us. It's crazy. And then of course phase 3 was in Seoul was the why, and it's just incredible that Seoul gave us that why, which was like, this is why we do it, like for the pure like happy passion driven vibe,
freedom and fun.
That is freedom, fun, and like just pushing yourself to reap the rewards of fulfillment and everything that you get from it.
"27 hours of interview down to like 1 to 1.5 hours or 1 to 2 hours per person. So 14 hours of usable interview in the end that we were cutting from. So like you'd have general, which could go anywhere, like, you know, general sort of emotion, friendship, why you're doing this stuff, the trip, and then actual like on the day what happened, like at this hour,
chronological.
And you sort of break it down like that. And I ended up basically sellotaping like notes after notes after notes, and had this sort of tower of notes that were just like a potential storyline, and managed to kind of basically just stick to that and work it out near the end. And then we basically ended up with like whole scenes that were cold at the end just because it like went on a bit long or didn't feel right for the pace or whatever. And
well, you managed to get it pretty tight feeling in the end, you know.
For someone who does parkour, I think it's watchable and it's an okay length. I think for someone that doesn't, we could have shortened Tokyo, we could have shortened the middle section and probably brought it down. What was it, 2 hours in the end? Is it 2 hours?
Just under
2 hours. I think an hour and a half, and with a bit more like experience, and it would be way more like clean cut. But like,
How'd you feel, Max?
Oh, mate, I am super happy.
You know, if you take stuff day by day and just take things as they come, then you can overcome a task as big as Roof Culture Asia.
But it's like looking at it as one big like mound or one big fucking mountain is too hard. Drew did a good interview at the end of Roof Culture where he explains that, and it was like, yeah, if you look at these feature lengths as one big mission, they feel totally unattainable, and it's like, wow, like how do we even start that, like whatever. But it's like, okay, if you really think about what step one is, usually it's dead easy. It's like literally a WhatsApp message to your team, like, or WhatsApp message to a few guys you think would be on board. That's step one, and following through is the hardest bit. Booking your flights is the next hardest. Trusting that, but all that comes down to is trusting that people are going to back it. They are, because the parkour community is banging in that way. Yeah, and then it's like chipping away at it bit by bit makes it way more achievable. The edit's just shit, so. Yeah.
I can confirm from my own experience making Schlappen that the edit is an absolute madness, but I hope you found that insightful, and please do leave a comment down below with your thoughts on paid parkour films. I'd love to get a discussion going. Next week, I'm going to bring these boys back to give some fantastic advice for aspiring filmmakers.
Like, the comments that we got from that video were insane. Like, there were people that were, like, multiple comments of people saying that they were breaking down into tears and saying, like, I'm really inspired to practice parkour now.
So subscribe to see that when it drops. And if this has inspired at least one person to pick up a camera and make something cool, then I'll consider this video a total success. See you next week.